Hey, Karanja James again. I have a question to any person who can give me an answer, a very detailed answer. I've been asked by some of my students, some people I coach, and they were asking me to give them a comprehensive, very detailed answer between today and next week, the reason why some of people are extremely rich while other people are extremely poor. And this is the same question I'm going to pose on you. I don't know if you have the answer. I don't know what you could have in mind that you can share. I don't know when the time you're watching this video. You can always leave a comment. You can always subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'll be always available to reciprocate and maybe answer and maybe give you a call and maybe show up for training, mentorship, and any other business that is going to wake up our belief system, our mind system. But before then, what makes some people rich and what makes other people rich, and all the calamities remain constant. All the factors remain constant. Everything remains constant. The air you are breathing is constant. What we see with our eyes is constant. I don't believe our physical appearance. I don't believe our education background can affect us that much, that we have so many people who are very rich, and in the same locality we have people who are so much poor, because some of the people I have talked to are not even educated. So some people who are very rich, they are not even educated, but they have a craft. They know how to put their things in order. They know how to sell. Let me ask, you might be a Christian, you are watching this. You might be a Muslim. You might be a pagan. So let me ask you, do you think that getting rich is by God's answering your prayers? Do you think by getting rich is by praying too much? Do you think by getting rich is by having to fast? Do you think by getting rich you get it through, I don't know, going to church? If you ask the same question that I was asked today, what would you give the answer to that question? Why are some people so poor, and in the same place there are people who are so rich? Give me a comprehensive answer. Today I'm willing to be a student, because you're never going to be a teacher if you're not willing to learn. You're not willing to learn. It's a two-way things. No one is abundance of knowledge or wisdom. So give me an answer on this. Why are some people too poor and others are too rich? People are building personal stadiums for themselves. People are creating lakes in their own land. People are creating their own White House in their own land. People are creating business worth millions and billions of money, while others are having wages, being paid being paid peanuts, 500 each and every day. Other people are sleeping hungry. People are poor. So give me an answer. I don't know how to give an answer to the question, which I was told to elaborate, or the elaboration is for a kid. So what makes people so poor while other people are so rich? I need an answer. Why? To our Muslim brothers, is it that Allah answers prayers? Is it Allah? Is it because Allah gives back when you give? Is success for the poor or for the rich or for the righteous? Because in the world I live, if you talk to most young people, because I've talked to some, they told me that the evil people are more blessed than the righteous people. Is it true? When you go to a successful person, he's going to tell you. When you go to a successful Christian, he's going to tell you it's through prayers and fasting and giving tithe. If you go to a Muslim brother, he's going to tell you it's because Allah has given to him, because he has fasted and is righteous to Allah. If you go to a person who does not believe in God, he's going to tell you it's through hard work, through mentorship, through sacrifice, through investment. If you go to a pagan who is rich, he's going to tell you it's not through hard work, it's maybe many things. Many people have their own beliefs. There are people who are rich, but they have worked hard. There are people who are rich, but they are just lucky. There are people who are rich because they were born in a very good family. There are people who are born because they were in investment very early in their life. There are people who have become rich by no good reason. It just happened. It was miraculous. You do something and you trend. And all these companies are calling you for sponsorship. So, is there a written rule? Is there a guided rule? Is there a blackboard written on this world that for you to be successful, this is what you need to do? And it should not exceed 100 words. Because you find that most of the Africans, they live in shanties, in settlements, you know. They live in places where poor people live. And actually these poor people make 80% or 90% of the world population. Why is that so? Some guy who was rich was asked what would happen if all the rich people had to distribute money equally to the poor. And they said that if they distributed their money to the poor, within 1 year's time, all the money will have gone back to them. So is it the poorest people spreading habits that keep them poor? Is it the mind? Is it the work ethic? Sometimes I work too hard, but I'm not extremely rich. There are people who don't work so hard. They are rich. So, what's the blueprint? What's the blueprint? I need an answer. Some people need an answer. I have to give them some answers. Why are so many people poor when there are other very few people who are rich in the same country, having the same roads? I asked someone, why are people so rich when others are poor? Someone told me they are risk takers. The poor don't want to risk their money. So let me ask you one thing. If you have 2,000 shillings in your pocket and that's all you have, how do you invest that money for you to make 1,000,000 shillings, man? How do you go about that? The question I've been asked so many times. If you say it's about commitment, even some poor people are very hardworking, and you find that those people who work hard, they are paid nothing. They are paid cents. They are actually not paid. The people at the hierarchy, at the pyramid, right there on the top, their work is just to think. The people who represent us in the parliament, the MPs, their work is just to think and give their thoughts, and they are paid. The ministers, they just give some words and they are paid for it, and they have security, they have big chunks of money. You know, what's the difference between the rich and the poor? What is the red written alert of? For you to become a rich person, you have to do that. And understand, you can become rich in many things. There are people who make furniture, they are rich. There are people who sell electronics, they are rich. There are people who make houses for others, they are rich. There are people who make phones for other people, they are rich. When you go to a person who doesn't have a lot of money and you ask them what is being rich, they'll tell you being healthy is being rich. Having good health, you are rich. But what is their point of reference? They are going to tell you there are people who are in the hospital who are in dire need of services and blood, and to them they are rich. Is that because their mind have told them they are rich and that's why they stay in the same situation or the same position? So give me an answer if you have an answer. Why are some people so rich while others are so poor in the same country? When I grew up, I used to think that in these first world countries like China, Europe, in England, and USA and Australia, they are not beggars. Only to find that even in US, even in California, even in New York, they are beggars and they are white. Go to England, you find white people who are beggars in the street. Go to China, they are beggars there. Go to Belgium, they are beggars. And you'll find someone who has come from a very poor country in Africa has gone to France. He has become rich when they are a white person in that country and is poor and is a beggar. Go to US. An Africa comes from a very poor country. He goes to US. He makes millions of dollars and he buys even airplanes. But in the same country, there are people who are poor. What's the difference between the rich and the poor? I need to know that. If you have an answer, kindly comment it here below. I also need something to learn from. I've read some books, I've listened to speakers, I've talked to people on how to build. There are people who work very hard and in return they get nothing. There are people who work smart. There are people who are going to get rich at 18 years old with no help, and they're driving all the fast high cars. They're living life in the fast lane. And there's someone who has worked for 40 years and he's 60. He's facing his retirement and he'll never be rich. So, is it that God chooses people to bless? Is it that God chooses some people to be rich? There's someone who gets rich at the age 20 and lives for 90 years old. You know? I'm also wondering. There's a person who will live for 50 years without having money. And at the age of 55, he's rich beyond his recognition. And there's a person who's going to be poor for the rest of his life. What's the difference between a rich person and a poor person? What can you give? What answer can you give to someone who has paid you to get the difference, and it must be correct and it must be not more than 100 words? That's my task for the next 2 weeks. What's the difference between the rich and the poor? Is it because some are prayerful? Is it because some are weak? Is it because they don't meditate? Is it because they don't pay tithe? What's it? Is it because they live in fear? Is it fear is part of failure? What is it? What is poverty? Why are so many people, 80% are poor? So can you give me an answer? Kindly, you know, give me an answer. I also want to learn. Today is my day to learn. What's the difference between the rich and the poor? In short, what is poverty? Why are so many people poor while others are rich beyond recognition, beyond measurement? Someone has 20 cars in his backyard, in his garage, where other people live in one room and there are 5 of them, mother, father, and 3 children. And those people who are living in those single rooms, they are comfortable. They wake up at 10 p.m. Whereas you find someone who has a mansionette, a bungalow, he has 10 cars, he has 10 homes, he has millions of shillings in the bank. And that guy sleeps only for 2 hours. Is it if you want to become rich, you have to know some people. Is it connection? There was a time there was COVID. Some people were like holding their money while others are spending their money. And we have found that there are some people who made a lot of money during the COVID era. So what's the difference between the rich and the poor? What is poverty? Why are so many people poor? Is it because of fear? What is it? If you have an answer, kindly let me know. I would be glad to know also. Because no one is 100%. Someone sells matchboxes and he sells 10 millions of them and he's rich. Someone else is selling property, 5 properties, and he's rich. You know, someone sells computers, sells mouses, and he's rich. Another guy sells the remote and he's rich. Other person sells or makes phones and he's rich. Other people, they make clothes and they are rich. Other people make haircuts and they are rich. Other people are doctors and they are rich. Other people are dentists and they are rich. Other people make perfumes and they are rich. But in the same spectrum, in the same pyramid, there's a person who is going to make these phones and is poor for the rest of his life. He's going to sell them. Some people make clothes. Is it about marketing? Is it about marketing? Is it poverty is related to poor marketing? Is it if you are poor, you have everything poor? You have poor courage, you have poor eyesight, you have poor diet. Does it mean you have everything poor? So if you have an answer, kindly let me know. On this, I would ask you to comment. If you have not commented, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'm Karanja James. Find me in all social media, and we are going to talk more. We need to grow each other. We need to make sure that we have this fuel that we are pushing every other person to the right direction. Poverty sucks. If you say poverty is a good thing, some people say that a lot of money is not going to make you happy. I've never seen a rich person who is unhappy. So let's assist each other, and I think it's going to make an impact in our lives. Most likely an impact in those people you live for, the families that you have, and we are going to be one nation. We are going to assist each other. We are going to help each other. You know? Yeah, that's what I have to say.